Hello rat bags, it's Jade. Welcome to a grounded video. Today we're going to take a look at the brand new arrows they've added to the game. If you don't know, you can upgrade your weapons in the latest Hot and Hazy update in Grounded, where you can add elemental damage types to them. And they had this for the bows too, but they've removed that option for the bows, and instead you're now going to be able to craft different types of arrows basically, which makes much more sense. Instead of having to have 3 different versions of a bow, you can now just craft the arrows that you need for the right type of creature. So I'm going to explain all of that, how to upgrade, and everything you need to know right now. Go and check out the rest of my guides I've already done showcasing how to upgrade your weapons and tools. But let's go, leave a like and make sure you're subscribed. Okay, so you should know by now that you can upgrade your tools and weapons using a smithy that you can unlock and of course the oven. You can upgrade all weapons and tools up to level 5 using quartzite. After you get to level 5 you're going to need to switch it up and cook some globs. Now these globs can be cooked in an oven. And you can see there's 4 different types. Now these elemental damage types can be applied to any tool, any weapon. So right now, for my next level, I can choose to have it extra mighty damage, or I could go fresh, spicy, or salty. And obviously some creatures are more prone to damage from some of these. It doesn't mean you're going to do fresh damage against every single creature in the game. It just means some of the creatures are going to take more damage because they don't like the fresh. But you can't do that with bows. You can upgrade them to level 5 using quartzite shards. But once you've got to level 5, that is it. Well, technically no. Actually, you can go ahead and upgrade them to level 7 using just quartzite globs. From level 5 to level 7, you'll need a bunch of them. And so it's going to increase its damage durability to 75%. And this is good, because otherwise it meant that we'd have to have like 3 different bows or 4 different bows with different elemental damage types on it, clogging up our inventory. Now this way we can just have 1 or 2 bows, obviously if you've got the upgraded insect bow or you prefer the crossbow, and you can have a selection of the arrows and see which creatures you come across, which one's going to be better to use. When it comes to the actual arrows themselves, well, there's now 8 different arrows. You've got the salt, the mint, the spicy, they're all tier 3, just been added. They all require at least 5 feather arrows to craft. And you're also going to need at least 1 spicy shard or 1 mint shard or 2 salt shards. So you can see how they unlock stuff now. The regular arrow, once you've crafted that, you can make venom, lure or gas. And once you've made a feather arrow, you can now make salt, mint or spicy. So how much damage do these different types do? Well, let's test it out on an ant and see pretty much what they don't like. I'm going to use my level 1 sprig bow here because I don't necessarily want to be too OP. And just for a base and example, let's go ahead and use just a regular arrow. And you can see we've taken a good chunk from this guy. If he stops moving, you get the idea. Now let's switch it up and let's try a feather arrow just for a baseline. Let's find a full health one. And you can see it does more than half the damage with just a baseline feather arrow. So what are they weak against? So let's try a salt arrow and see how much damage it does. You can see it doesn't do that much more damage. So it's not salt that they're weak against. What about a mint one? And you can see as well that the mint damage is not doing that much extra. So it's got to be spicy that's going to do more. And you can see it does do a big amount of damage. So ants are more susceptible to spicy damage. Let's try it on this just to illustrate one more time. Let's try it on a stink bug. So I've got a mint arrow, I've got my level 7 bow, let's try it out. So it takes nearly more than half a quadrant, pretty much like 80%. I'm going to run away, see if he heals up, and then we'll try a different one. And that was with the fresh. Now let's try the salt. You can see the salt doesn't do nowhere near as much damage. If we do the spicy, I'm expecting the spicy not to go past the quadrant line there. Yeah, so absolutely fresh damage is the way to go against stink bugs. Something to note, when you fire one of these it turns into a feather arrow, so I'm guessing it's because the devs want you to lose your coating of that arrow so you can't be too OP with them all the time. So yeah, at least you get the arrow back, but it's not going to return a mint arrow, it's going to be just a regular feather arrow, which still does a huge amount of damage. In fact, some creatures look like they won't take any extra damage against the elements. they'll just still prefer to be shot by just a feather arrow because I guess the mighty damage on it. What about some of the other creatures? Let's try it out. Infected, how are you doing? Oh, it's just over half. That's with fresh. Let's try salty. Salty's not as strong either, so it looks like fresh is good for infected ladybugs too. How about spicy? Spicy's even worse. The fresh definitely does a lot of damage against these infected ladybugs and obviously stink bugs. What about just a regular feather arrow though? You can see it's probably just a bit under, so fresh is definitely the best thing for infected. So we're going to go for the crossbow now on some bees. So let's try it with a spicy one. I'll get my arrow back, thank you very much. Okay, so I've got my spicy arrows. And you can see, wow, nearly 2 damage there on the bee. What about a mint arrow? Mint does even more. Okay, and what about salt? Salt damage, not so much. And regular feather arrows. Let's see if we can find one. Let's try that one. You can see it does nearly half damage. So again, it looks like fresh is the best, then normal arrows or feather arrows, and then going for either spicy or salty. It's definitely mint fresh damage all the way with the bees. Okay, what about wolf spiders? Let's try a salt arrow first. See, it takes what, nearly a whole quadrant or just over. So let's try the mint arrow now. And you can see the mint arrow doesn't do as much damage. And let's try now with a spicy one. Spicy damage is the way to go with wolf spiders. That's nearly 2 whole sections there. I'm going to choose just a regular arrow though, just to see. Yeah, it definitely doesn't do as much with just a regular feather arrow. It's spicy arrows all the way for these guys. What about the humble ladybug? The infected we've already seen. So let's have a look at just a mint arrow first. Mint arrows do quite a bit. So nearly 2 whole quadrants. Now let's try the spicy one. Spicy only does 1 section. And let's do the salt. And salt is even worse. So mint, spicy, salty. What about just a regular arrow? Yep, they don't do as well with just the feathers. Okay, I'm sure we're all going to enjoy this one. Mosquitoes, baby. Let's see what you don't like. Oh, look at that. Nearly 1.5 sections. And that's with a spicy. How about a salt? About the same. Maybe slightly more. I think that's pretty much the same. And what about mint? Wow. Okay, so mint they really don't like. And just a regular arrow. Regular feather one at least. Yeah, it does more damage. So again, salt and spicy, not so much. Regular feather arrow, yep. But if you really want to take down mosquitoes, use mints. So the last test we'll do just a generic orb weaver. I'm guessing it's going to be the same sort of defenses or things it doesn't like as the wolf ones. But you never know. So I've got my mint arrows first. Let's try mint arrows. Hi friend. You can see it's nearly a full square. Now let's try a salt arrow. There's one. Come here. Come get a salty boy. Oh, it takes more salt damage for sure. Does not like salt damage. Just get a better view at that. That's quite a lot. And spicy. Need one more. And it definitely doesn't like spicy either. And what about just a regular arrow? Yeah, it does a good amount of damage, but not as much as some of the others. So spicy's number 1, salty, fresh, and then normal feathers. So there we go. Upgrade your bows, get them to level 5. If you've got the goblets, get them to level 7, and then go ahead and start crafting some of these elemental arrows. Once the update is fully here, I will do a complete definitive test on all of the creatures in Grounded that matter, usually the big ones, as there's no point really in showing the weaknesses of something like a aphid, as they're pretty much going to be killed in just one shot anyway. But yeah, look out for that. We'll probably do it as a live stream. You know what? There's a few bombardiers here. Let's try these. Assault arrow from bombardier. So it's nearly what? 1.5 nearly. What about a spicy one? So yeah, that's about the same. And what about a mint? Oh, yep, mint is the one against these guys. And just a regular arrow. They do pretty well as well. So mint, then feather, then spicy and salty are the worst ones to use. And there we go, that's pretty much it. I'll be back. As I said, things may change. It is the PTS. Values may change. They may switch stuff. That's why I'm not going too deep on some of this stuff. But I will absolutely deliver you the definitive answers on all the creatures once the update's fully here.